We have really come a long way. Just to recap quickly, context makes understanding much easier. This is the 5th video I've made about past tense verb conjugation. First, I showed you the rule of thumb for choosing between the preterite tense and the imperfect tense correctly 90% of the time. Then we dove into the actual conjugations. First, regular preterite AR conjugation, then regular preterite ER and IR conjugation. Then in the last video, we switched gears and started with the imperfect tense. Imperfect AR conjugation. Notice I didn't say regular imperfect AR conjugation. That's because in the imperfect tense, there are no irregular AR verbs. Every AR verb is regular in the imperfect tense. No irregulars? That's cool. The links to all those videos are below this video or in the description. Well, I've got some good news for you. Just like in the preterite tense, ER and IR verbs conjugate exactly the same in the imperfect tense. That means you only have to learn one conjugation for both types of verbs. And I consider this kinda good news. Unlike AR verbs, there are irregular ER and IR verbs in the imperfect tense, but only 3. So while there are irregular ER and IR verbs in the imperfect tense, it's only 3 verbs: ir, ser, and ber. Every other ER and IR verb in the imperfect tense is regular. And that is exactly what we're here to discuss today. Regular imperfect ER-IR conjugation. Imperfect ER and IR verbs are interesting. First, they conjugate exactly like one another. ER verbs conjugate exactly like IR verbs. We saw this before in the preterite tense, where ER verbs and IR verbs also conjugated exactly the same. What sets imperfect ER and IR endings apart is they don't really look like their AR counterparts at all. In the present tense and preterite tense, this just wasn't the case. ER and IR endings were kind of the ER-IR versions of the AR endings. Remember? In the present tense, for AR verbs, it was o, as, a, amos, ais, an. Then for ER verbs, o, s, e, emos, ais, en. Then IR verbs were similar to ER verbs in the present tense. It was basically the same in the preterite tense. For AR verbs, it was e with the accent, aste, o with the accent, amos, astes, aron. Then for IR verbs, it was I with the accent, iste, io with the accent, emos, istes, ieron. Then ER verbs were the same as IR verbs in the preterite tense. Well, now there's definitely a pattern, but it's much less apparent at first. In fact, ER and IR verbs look completely different than AR verbs in the imperfect tense. Let's take a look. Comer, to eat, an ER verb. To get started, we take off the ER in every box. Now we add our new regular imperfect ER endings. It's IA with an accent on the I, so ia. Then IAS, the accent goes on the I there again. The accent goes on the I in all 6 boxes. So ias, then ia or ia, then iamos or iamos, iais or iais, then finally ian or ian. So I used to eat is comía, you used to eat is comías, he used to eat is comía, we used to eat is comíamos, you both used to eat is comíais, they used to eat is comían. Not too bad, right? I want you to notice a few things. First and foremost, the accent goes on the I in every single box, all 6 spots. Ia, ias, ia, iamos, iais, ian. Second, the first person singular and the third person singular, just like with AR verbs in the imperfect tense, are exactly the same. That's fine, it just means when the subject isn't very clear, you should add yo or I to the first person singular, just like you've always added el, ella, or usted to the third person singular. If you saw the video about imperfect AR conjugation, this should be familiar already, it's the same. So come, the present tense conjugation can be he eats, she eats, or you eat, formal. So you need to say él come, ella come, or usted come to make it clear who's eating. Well, now in the imperfect tense, comía could be he used to eat, she used to eat, you used to eat, formal, or I used to eat. So if it's not already clear, you need to say yo comía, él comía, ella comía, or usted comía. Make sense? Third, these conjugations, like I said earlier, bear no resemblance to their AR counterparts. At first they don't. One similarity is the the fact that the first person singular and third person singular are the same. The only other time we've seen that is with imperfect AR verbs, the last video. But more importantly, after the I with the accent, notice all those endings are exactly the same as the imperfect AR endings from the last lesson, well, after the B, which were basically the same as regular present tense AR endings, except the first person singular. It's still better to forget all this and just practice your little heart out, but learning stuff in patterns at the beginning is really helpful, although perhaps a little confusing too. I don't know, I like it. If you do the assignments below, it'll feel like a fact of life that comía is I used to eat, or he used to eat, or she used to eat, or you used to eat formal. I should have picked a simpler example. If you do the assignments below, it'll feel like a fact of life that comías is you used to eat. It's really not that hard, I promise. Way easier than the preterite. Okay, another example. Aprender, to learn. Take off the ER in every box, then add the regular imperfect ER endings. The accent goes on the I in all 6 boxes. Ia, ias, ia, íamos, iais, ian. I used to learn is aprendía. You used to learn is aprendías. He used to learn is aprendía. We used to learn is aprendíamos. You both used to learn is aprendíais. They used to learn is aprendían. Got this? Pretty much every ER verb conjugates exactly like this. Just ser and ver are irregular, but every other ER verb conjugates exactly like comer and aprender. And other than ir, which like always is irregular in the imperfect tense, every single IR verb also conjugates exactly like comer and aprender. No exceptions. IR verbs in the imperfect tense get exactly the same endings ER verbs did. So we'll start with compartir, or to share, and take off the IR in every single box. Then we'll just add the same endings we did before, the regular imperfect ER-IR endings. All 6 spots have the accent on the I again. Ia, ias, ia, íamos, iais, ian. So I used to share is compartía. You used to share is compartías. He used to share is compartía. We used to share is compartíamos. You both used to share is compartíais. They used to share is compartían. Okay, another IR example, then you can get out of here and do the free practice worksheet below. Let's use abrir. That means to open. You take off the IR in every box, then add the regular imperfect ER-IR endings. All 6 spots have the accent on the I. Ia, ias, ia, íamos, iais, ian. I used to open is abría. You used to open is abrías. He used to open is abría. We used to open is abríamos. You both used to open is abríais. They used to open is abrían. Cool? It's really not that bad. Another conjugation, so more work and more confusion at first, but once you really get to know these endings, you won't confuse them as much and they won't confuse you as much. Now, here's what I want you to do. Below this video or in the description, you'll see a link that says free practice resources. I'm giving you a word list with some of the most common ER and IR verbs. You'll also get a free practice worksheet to make sure you know your conjugations. If you follow my very specific 3-step process for learning verb conjugations, follow my instructions with the free practice resources, regular imperfect ER-IR conjugation will never give you a problem again. And I don't just say that, I mean it. When you follow my instructions, you'll be practicing regular imperfect ER-IR conjugations so much it'll be impossible to not know them. You'll feel it deep in your bones that comías is you used to eat, just like you feel it in your bones that 2 + 2 = 4. So download the free resources and you'll know regular imperfect ER-IR conjugations like you know your math tables. Then the next video is the final video for a while on past tense conjugation. I'm calling it Life Lessons. I went through the first episodes of season 2 of Orange is the New Black and picked out all the quotes involving the past tense. In the next video, I'm going to show you those quotes so you can see how the past tense works in real life. You'll see the preterite in action, you'll see the imperfect, and you'll see them both at the same time, in the same sentence even. For me, that's when the difference is the clearest. Okay, get out of here. Don't forget to download the free practice resources. Then I'll see you next time. Hasta luego. Adios, amigo.